would Ergo be able to handle Sunday swap volumes? We saw the Cardano blockchain being the bottleneck for transactions during the Sunday swap launch. DEXs on Ergo experienced the same. So what do you think, Joe? This is a good question for you.
One, I'm not exactly tracking Sunday swap volume just because it's not in our ecosystem. But I do think that generally what's going to happen in most actually decentralized layer one blockchains is you do have limited space in the base layer, right? And so inevitably that space is going to become congested and at a premium. And then it's just a matter of saying, okay, well, how do you scale? And you either move to layer two, which is going to be an option that both Cardano and Ergo are building towards. And you also have the ability to spin up what's called an application-specific sidechain. And basically what that is it's a sidechain that you can bridge to from the main chain that usually has some accelerated throughput and allows for you to clear transactions on that sidechain. And then when you want to exit, move back to kind of the home chain if you want to, you take the bridge. So I don't think that is a failure in any sense. I think that's actually a good thing to see on Cardano. I do think that we will hit that at Ergo at some point, and it's going to be our goal to try to front run that bottleneck a little bit. But you have to understand that when you have a decentralized system, you do gain a certain inefficiency, right? And oftentimes what you see in blockchain designs is in order to get throughput, you basically sacrifice decentralization. You often see hardware requirements going through the roof. You see a very small set of validators that oftentimes run pretty intensive setups that are beyond the, let's say, hardware capacity of the average user, whether it's just in terms of the cost of the hardware or the internet connection. And you can look at Cardano. They, I believe, have stake pools running on Raspberry Pis. That's some pretty light hardware requirements. That's actually really neat to see. But that bottleneck is, to some degree, it does reflect that, hey, this is actually a decentralized system, because you do have a certain inefficiency that comes from that. Now, what happens is you need to build solutions that scale that, because that limited space on the base layer is naturally kind of, let's say, be overfull. You're going to need some mempools, and you're going to need to put that extra, let's say, demand somewhere. And we actually do have a very similar model to Cardano in terms of how to scale. That's kind of unknown. It's just building out the technical side.
Yeah, the Joe basically kind of hit the nail right on the head right there. Do we know for sure if scalability or scaling, throughput scaling, would be an issue? We can estimate, but we can't until we actually hit it. But again, as Joe stated, decentralized systems are not, they don't do things at a drop of a dime. They're decentralized. So what you have to do is you have to introduce a solution and then have it propagate through the system. It takes time. It might not always be the right solution, so you have to adjust the solution. But in the end, what you get is a more organic product, an organic solution that will be that will have a much better positive long-term effect. For example, what we're doing with Cardano is we're saying network parameters gradually to then gauge the effect it has on the network, because it is a decentralized network. We get feedback from the community, we see what works, and then we act accordingly. So I believe with Ergo would be the same thing. I believe with Ergo, if we need to change network parameters, we would have to do that gradually, and then it will eventually and essentially find a proper level of network bandwidth and network throughput through that system. But again, it will not be like instant. It will take time, and it's not going to be clean. But decentralization is not clean. It's a bunch of people,
Yeah,
and some people.
on
Yeah.
our end, yeah, miners. So one nice thing about having the validators being able to scale the parameters is they're the ones watching the blocks. You know, miners are always watching the blocks, who got the reward, how much is the reward. So they have the ability to vote to increase block size, and that's generally going to be the fastest way that they could quickly adapt the system. No, there is some delay in terms of how governance and parameter changes work. But ideally, once we breach that, let's say, bottleneck period, it's kind of an invitation for miners to start voting on the parameters to try to ideally, increase their profitability.
Yeah. So, I guess the question is, the answer is, we'll just have to see when it gets to it. And one thing I'm certain is we will find a solution. Ergo is not going to, we're not just going to all just like, screw this. Let's just fold it. Everybody shut off your nodes. Let's go home. Yeah, that's the nature of decentralization. It's clean, but it is the best system out there, I believe.